A is for Ark the Lad. This is a series of tactical role-playing games released for the PS1 and PS2 throughout the mid-90s to mid-2000s. The first in the series was one of the earliest RPGs on the PS1, selling massive numbers in Japan. It follows Ark, who sets out from his small town as he learns about a plot to destroy the world. Ark the Lad 2 and 3 continue this story and form a trilogy that was later released as Ark the Lad Collection in 2002. A couple years later, Ark the Lad Twilight of the Spirits was released on the PS2, which was set 1000 years after Ark the Lad 3 and follows an entirely new cast of characters. This game is awesome and is my personal favourite in the series. That is much more than I can say about The End of Darkness, which was released a year later. You could probably say that this one killed the series. Oh, and I guess I should mention Ark the Lad R that was released in May 2021, but it's a gacha mobile game, so moving on. B is for Breath of Fire. Breath of bloody fire. God, I love this series. Seriously, one of the biggest video game crimes is that this series is dead. This JRPG series started all the way back in 1993 on the Super NES. Just like every other game in the series, it follows the journey of Ryu, a descendant of the Dragon Clan. He has the power to transform into dragons in battle, which is just awesome. Breath of Fire 3 and 4 were the two titles on the PS1, and these raised the bar to a whole new level. The third is the best in the series. I mean the fourth. No, the third. I'll stick with the fourth. Play them both and decide for yourself. The final title in the series, Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter, did things very differently, and this pissed off a lot of fans. I actually liked this game a lot despite its unique yet brutal mechanics. I have a review out for every game in the series, so check them out if you're interested. Oh, and again, there is a Breath of Fire 6 released exclusively in Japan for mobile platforms, but this was a bomb. See the trend here? Just stop with the mobile cash grabs and give us what we want. C is for Chrono Trigger, the game that many people consider as the best RPG of all time. The storytelling, characters, gameplay, visuals and soundtrack are all top tier and make this a must-play title. Originally released in 1995 for the Super Nintendo, it has since seen numerous ports on countless systems, making it so that there really isn't an excuse to have not played this masterpiece. Its indirect sequel, Chrono Cross, was then released a few years later on the PS1, and although it does things a little bit differently, it is still an awesome game. Personally, I like Chrono Cross more than Trigger, which is no doubt going to upset a lot of people listening to this. Following the success of these two titles, Squaresoft trademarked the name Chrono Break in 2001, but for some reason this was then dropped in 2003. Hey Square, want to know how to blow fans away and make millions in the process? Give us a sequel. I can just imagine the reactions if a reveal trailer opened with that swinging pendulum. Wowee! D is for Dragon Quest. This is the longest running JRPG series of all time. The original title, originally released by Enix on the NES in 1986, had such a significant impact on the genre and set many standards that were seen through the decades that followed. Its success also proved that RPGs could make money, and this validation was needed to set the Final Fantasy series into motion. Since Dragon Quest I, this series has seen 11 mainline installments, with the most recent being released in 2017. This latest title, Dragon Quest XI, modernizes many of the staples from the rest of the series and is often regarded as the best Dragon Quest game. Dragon Quest XII, The Flames of Fate, has also just been announced. Not much is known about this one, but it's said to have a darker setting with the revamp to the traditional turn-based combat that the series popularized. E is for Earthbound, probably the weirdest, most unique JRPG in existence. You play the role of Ness, and with his party Paula, Jeff, and Pooh, he travels the world to collect melodies in order to defeat the universal cosmic destroyer Gigas. Its odd visuals and weird humour made it very different to the JRPGs that most people were used to. Earthbound's unique style was also consistent with its $2 million marketing campaign, which was described as bizarre and based around fart jokes. I mean, its advertisement in GamePro included a foul-smelling scratch and sniff which received loads of complaints for the magazine. All this weirdness resulted in low sales in the US as well as little critical praise. Fast forward to today and it has become a cult classic. Somewhere along the way, people's views changed and now it is very highly regarded. F is for Final Fantasy. What do I say here that you probably don't already know? This series has been going strong since the 80s and there's no slowing down with its 15 mainline titles and countless spin-offs. While many of the more modern titles have failed to meet many fan expectations that were born from the PS1 era games, each title still continues to sell well and present new mechanics better suited to modern times. Between the sequels, remakes, spin-offs and re-releases, something tells me that there is never going to be a final Final Fantasy. G is for Grandia, an RPG series established in 1996 spanning 3 main games and a spin-off title called Grandia Extreme. There was also a short-lived MMORPG and a couple of other spin-offs, but these were Japanese exclusives, so no one cares about those. Grandia is a very solid JRPG series, best known for its incredible combat system, which is easily up there as one of my favourites of all time. The first 2 Grandia games are arguably the best in the series, and in 2019 they were bundled together and remastered as Grandia HD Collection, available on the PC and Switch. If you want to check this series out, this is definitely the way to go. H is for hack. Okay, it's actually pronounced .hack, but the dot symbol isn't in the alphabet, and I'm all about the alphabet today, people. We have 2 series here, with the first spanning 4 games, Infection, Mutation, Outbreak and Quarantine, and the second series labelled as .hack GU spanning 3 games, Rebirth, Reminisce and Redemption. The setting for this series is unique and really awesome. These games are set in a fictional simulated MMORPG environment called The World. The first series begins with many of the world's players becoming comatose in real life after playing the game. .hack also has several anime series that follow the same concept, some of which even directly relate to the video games. If you want to check this series out, your best bet is to buy .hack GU Last Recode, which is a remastered version of the GU series. I is for Illusion of Gaia, or Illusion of Time in PAL regions. This action RPG was developed by Quintet as part of the Soul Blazer trilogy, along with Soul Blazer and Terranigma, also released on the Super Nintendo. These games are not directly related, but they do follow some similar themes. Illusion of Gaia follows Will, who stumbles into a dark space and meets a strange being called Gaia, who sets him on a journey to prevent a comet from crashing into the world. This game sold 650,000 copies worldwide and was ranked 186 in Nintendo Power's Top 200 Games list. J is for Jade Cocoon. This PS1 RPG is all about monster catching. You play the role of Levant, whose job is to capture and purify these monsters known as minions. These minions can then be used to fight alongside Levant and even fuse together to create even stronger minions. Despite being on the short side, Jade Cocoon was praised for its graphics, which included anime-style FMV sequences and also its monster breeding system. A sequel set 100 years in the future was also released on the PlayStation 2, and this was the last we ever saw of the series. K is for Kingdom Hearts, quite possibly the weirdest mix of franchises in video game history. I mean, the Final Fantasy style crossed with Disney, Mickey Mouse fighting Sephiroth, what were they smoking? But then there's the fact that this series is awesome. It features some great characters, fun Disney worlds and addictive action combat. It also features a story that is probably the biggest convoluted mess in the history of video games. To have any idea what the hell is going on, you'll need to not only play the main 3 titles, but also the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, no, I don't even know how many damn spin-offs there are. If you're interested, maybe just stick to the mainline games with the expectation that your mind will be fucked on. L is for The Legend of Dragoon. Along with a few others on this list, this is one of the must-play JRPGs from the PS1 era. This game has badass written all over it. You play the role of Dart, who soon obtains the power to transform into a dragoon. The story here is awesome and there is loads of great lore and world building, and this would have been perfect for a prequel. Another standout feature is the combat system, where every regular attack requires precise button inputs in time with the on-screen prompt. This ensures that you always need to stay focused in battle, even against regular enemies. Hopefully one day someone will do something with this great JRPG. M is for Monster Hunter. This series of action-focused RPGs has been going strong since it was first released in 2004 on the PlayStation 2. The focus here isn't on storytelling or character development. Instead, it's all about the hunt. With each game, you'll be in a seemingly endless loop of setting out to hunt a giant monster, taking its materials, using them to forge better equipment, and then taking on even stronger monsters. The later games also feature some pretty addictive online multiplayer, allowing you to team up with friends or randoms to take down these giant beasts. With loads of weapon types, abilities and statistics to consider, Monster Hunter is not an easy game to put down. N is for Nier, a series developed by the creative mind of Yoko Taro. This action RPG series is all about the story and contains some of the best writing and most thought-provoking themes that you'll experience in a video game. The first game, Replicant, has just been re-released as a remastered version of the original. Its sequel, Automata, is set many years in the future and takes everything to a whole new level. With great writing, multiple endings, memorable characters, and outstanding soundtracks, the Nier series is a must-play. Also, how awesome are Kaine and Emil?
Start making sense, you rotten book, or you're gonna be sorry! Maybe I'll rip your pages out one by one, or maybe I'll put you in the goddamn furnace! How can someone with such a big smart brain get hypnotized like a little bitch, huh? Oh, Shadow Lord, I love you, Shadow Lord! Come over here and give Vice a big sloppy kiss, Shadow Lord! Now pull your head out of your goddamn ass and start fucking helping us!
O is for Octopath Traveler, the game that started the whole HD 2D style, that is, 2D sprites combined with breathtaking HD backgrounds and effects. Octopath refers to the ability to play as 8 different characters following their different paths. I absolutely loved this game and how it felt so retro and so modern at the same time. The visuals, the combat, and the RPG mechanics all make this a must-play title. I'm excited to see the future of this HD 2D series, specifically Project Triangle Strategy releasing in the future. P is for the Persona series, a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei series. Persona consists of 5 main titles with loads of spin-offs of all different genres, including rhythm-based games. Each Persona game is set in a high school where a group of students eventually gain the ability to summon or change into their persona, which are physical manifestations of their inner psyche. This series, particularly 3, 4, and 5, offers everything that you would want from a JRPG. The latest in the series was met with universal acclaim and is easily one of the top JRPGs of the decade. If you want to try this series out, make sure you get Persona 5 Royal Edition on modern consoles. Q is for Quest 64, the only RPG that I know of that starts with Q. Congratulations Quest 64, you make it into the alphabet, probably the only list you'll ever make it onto. Quest 64, or Holy Magic Century in Power Regions, is not a game you should play. While it was a moderate financial success for Nintendo, you could put this down to the fact that it was the first and one of the only RPGs for the entire console. I guess N64 owners probably bought it hoping that it would be the console's answer to Final Fantasy VII. Quest 64 was far from that. Aside from its decent graphics for its time, Quest 64 lacked depth in its gameplay, its story, and its exploration. Take my word for it and steer clear. R is for Radiata Stories, an outstanding PS2 RPG that honestly doesn't get enough love. A standout feature of this game is the branching story and also the 175 recruitable characters, all with unique personalities and backstories. Due to this branching story, the game is designed to be played multiple times where the story will unfold from different viewpoints. Radiata Stories also features a dynamic world with each of the 300 NPCs having their own lives, jobs, personalities, homes, dialogues, and schedules, which are based on a day-night system. This JRPG is highly recommended, and if you get a chance, make sure you give it a shot. S is for Suikoden, the greatest RPG series of all time. I'm not joking. If you've been subbed to my channel for a while, then you've no doubt watched my Suikoden content and know how much I love the series. There are 5 main games in the series, which are all set in different countries within the same world. Each game focuses on politics and war between nations, featuring a hero who ends up building up and leading an army capable of putting an end to the war. There are so many standout mechanics here, from the multiple battle systems to the 27 unique true runes to the 108 recruitable characters for each game. The lore and world building here is also next level, and I've never been so captivated by a world in my life. Unfortunately, Suikoden 5 was the last we ever saw of the main series, and it doesn't look like it'll ever see the light of day again. Konami are just kinda doing nothing with it. The good news is that the creators of Suikoden have just banded together and are working on a brand new game named Eiyuden Chronicle, which will have many similar mechanics to the Suikoden series. If you take anything out of this video, it should be to go play this series now. T is for Trails, one of my favourite series of all time. Despite releasing various titles over the past decade, it seems like the new kid on the block, and its popularity has been increasing rapidly over the past few years. At this point of time, there are 9 games within 3 different story arcs that all interconnect. It is highly recommended to play every game in this series chronologically, starting from Trails in the Sky first chapter. Now, these games are all slow burners, but it is this pacing that establishes the characters, the settings, and the conflicts to perfection. In fact, the world building here is second to none. Yes, it has the best world building out of any JRPG series ever. Add this to an incredible story, a diverse, memorable, deep cast of characters, great combat, and a top tier soundtrack, and you have yourself one of the best video game series of all time. The best part is that this series is still going strong, with the next arc set to be released in the next few years. I've got a review out for every game in this series, so if you're interested, you can check them out in the links below. U is for Unlimited Saga, the 9th game in the long-running Saga series. This story follows 7 different characters as they explore the mysteries connected to the 7 wonders. While Unlimited Saga reviewed well and managed to sell 500,000 copies in Japan, its reception in the West was, for lack of a better word, shit. The exploration mechanics took an entirely new direction with a board game-like style, and this, with the overly complex battle system, put many people off. Just like Quest 64, this one kinda made it on the list by default due to the lack of JRPGs starting with U. V is for Vagrant Story, an incredibly well received PS1 action RPG directed by Yasumi Matsuno. This game is part of the Ivalice Alliance and is set in the same world as Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy XII. Now, Vagrant Story is often right up there on many top JRPG lists, and for good reason. This game was released very late in the PS1's lifespan, and its realistic visuals looked amazing. Another standout feature includes the compelling, well-written story and the complex battle system that has a huge learning curve to mastery. Vagrant Story is definitely a title that old-school RPG fans need to play. W is for Wild Arms, another JRPG series that was very popular in the PS1 and PS2 eras. Spanning 5 main titles and a couple of spin-offs, each game focuses on the use of arms, which are highly destructive ancient weapons. While each game is set in the world of Filgaia, the games are not connected but still follow similar themes, often relating to the environment. Unfortunately, the core series ended in 2008 with the release of Wild Arms 5, but in 2018 there was an attempt at a cash grab with the Japanese mobile exclusive Wild Arms Million Memories. But just like every other mobile spin-off, no one cares. Seriously, not one person, so stop it. X is for Xenogears, a JRPG with one of the best stories ever told. Often right up the top of people's best RPGs ever lists, Xenogears is an absolute must-play JRPG. I've never experienced a story with so much depth, so much emotional impact, and so many surprising twists and turns. The amazing thing is that Xenogears could have been even better, with its second disc clearly rushed due to strict timelines, but don't let that stop you from giving this a go. I'll also say that the entire Xeno series is among my favourite series of all time. The story-driven Xenosaga trilogy on the PS2 is outstanding, and the most recent Xenoblade titles are all solid games with some of the best exploration that I've ever encountered. Honestly, you can't go wrong with any of these games, but for the story alone, Xenogears is my personal favourite. And this song, this bloody song.
Cold fire clenched to my heart in the blue of night. Torn by this pain, I paint your name in sound.
Y is for Ys, one of the longest running JRPG series of all time. Starting all the way back in 1987, there are 9 mainline Ys games that have been massive in Japan for decades. It's only recently, however, that it's gained popularity in the West due to the releases of Ys 8 and Ys 9 on the PS4. The Ys series follows the adventures of a dull Christian who always seems to find himself right in the middle of significant events all over the world. With that said, most of the games are standalone titles and don't require having played the previous games. I personally started with Ys 9 and found it a lot of fun. Some standout features of the series include its addictive action-focused combat and, in true Nihon Falcom style, incredible music. Long live the Ys series. Z is for Z.H.P.Unlosing Ranger vs Darkdeath Evilman. Yeah, you heard that right. This PSP exclusive tactical RPG is probably one that not too many people have heard of, but to say that it was well received is an understatement. I mean, it has a user Metacritic score of 9.8 based on nearly 800 ratings. That is insane. Early in the game, your entirely personalized main character becomes the new Absolute Victory Unlosing Ranger and must train himself to defeat the evil demon General Darkdeath Evilman. At its core, this is a roguelike dungeon crawler that offers loads of replayability. However, it has been praised for being a great introduction to this subgenre, which is one of the reasons behind its positive reception. On another note, I am really glad that this game exists because I have no idea what other JRPG I could use for the letter Z. Well, now you know your ABCs, now it's time to JRPG. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. If you like this, hit like and sub for loads more RPG related videos. See you next time.